everyone, how are you? I hope that you are doing so well today. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Nina or Sinfulpluto, and if you're returning, welcome back. Thanks for joining us. Today we're going to be doing a pick a card to see what your life purpose is. So if you're interested to know what your life path is, what you were meant to do on this earth, what your purpose is on this earth, what is the whole point of all of this, this is definitely the reading for you. So we're going to go ahead and show all of the piles, and then we're going to jump right into it.
Hello my loves, today we have 4 piles from which you can choose. The first pile is all the way on the left with lapis lazuli, second is opal, the third is amethyst, and all the way on the right is pyrite. So you can go ahead and close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, ask your spirit guides what your life purpose is. Once you have a pile envisioned or a crystal envisioned, you can go ahead to the timestamp that I will have below and enjoy.
Hey group 1, how are you? I hope that you are doing so well. Obviously, if you chose this group, you chose the lapis lazuli. So let's get right into your reading. So first we'll get into the tarot. I have the Page of Cups, the 3 of Pentacles, 10 of Cups, and the King of Wands reverse, which is really interesting. It's such a stark difference from all of the other cards. So what I can say right off the bat, if you chose this group, I feel that your life purpose has something to do with creativity, artistry, music, something along those lines. The Page of Cups and the 3 of Pentacles. Well, first, the Page of Cups to me signifies someone who's like a young soul. So you might have a very young soul, or maybe you literally are just a young person, or maybe you're just very connected with your inner child. You're a very playful kind of person, very childlike, very upbeat, very frivolous, that sort of thing. So that could be like your overall energy right now. And that's something that maybe you have just been, maybe that's just the way that you've been for all of your life, just being a very young soul, very playful, very like out there, outgoing, even romantic, and a bit of an idealist. With this card is kind of like what it feels like, a dreamer for sure. And I feel that with this Page of Cups, like I said, there's this energy of like being very creative, possibly being like an artist or a musician or like a graphic designer, a photographer, whatever it is, something that has to do with creativity, something that involves some sort of creative outlet, however that may apply to you. And I feel that with this 3 of Pentacles here, I feel that for some of you, your life purpose could definitely be involved with art, because you know this person is drawing. You could be like a muse, for example, or some of you could even be a mentor, or you know, you could be working with like any of those 2 or 3 different archetypes, right? Where, you know, you're playing the role of, for example, of a mentor, but you're also working with an artist and a muse, so to speak. Maybe some of you like want to model, and that's part of your life purpose, is modeling in the industry, right? So that could also be a possibility, something that involves creativity. I also feel that maybe for some of you, I don't necessarily want to say this has to do with sensuality, but it's more so because I'm looking specifically at the muse and like the model. For some of you, your life purpose could involve being connected with your body and using your body as a creative outlet. And it doesn't have to be like a weird thing. Like, we don't have to make this weird. You know, like, it's not like a weird, okay, why am I, Nina, stop. Nina, should I just, like, no, I don't think I'd like it like that. Maybe like a slight, makes a difference, huh? Anyways, okay, what was I saying? Oh, okay. So maybe some of you have like this desire or this passion to use your body as a form or as an outlet for your creativity. So maybe you're like into body art, or I don't know, like costume makeup or something. Whatever it is that you're into. anything that has to do with creativity and maybe involving your body in some way to kind of fulfill that, if that makes sense. But I really do feel like this very strong creative energy. I feel that maybe your life purpose could involve working with other people, collaborating with other people in terms of like your artistry, in terms of your creativity. Maybe you have like a creative team, or you're meant to have some sort of creative team so that you're not just working independently, but it's kind of like an interdependent sort of thing, if that kind of makes sense. I also have this 10 of Cups, which again, I feel like really involves like other people having a strong sense of community and like a strong sort of like family base or foundational base, if that kind of makes sense. It doesn't necessarily have to be family, but something that's just like very emotionally fulfilling, having a foundation, having a community that's very accepting of you, have built, or even building your own community that's very inclusive, that's very accepting, that very much understands you. I feel that maybe for some of you, you want to build an emotionally fulfilling family life that involves your artistry or your creativity. Maybe you want to involve your family in some way in terms of your artistry and your creativity, however that might apply to you. I feel like that could be your life purpose as well. The 10 of Cups to me can also signify that maybe your life purpose, or part of your life purpose, is having a family, you know, building up a family once you have reached that stage of your life. If you decide that's something that you really want to do, you know, obviously like that's up to free will. But I feel that with this 10 of Cups, this to me just like feels like family. This feels like home. But for some of you, this can also just signify like creating your own family, you know, choosing your family, choosing who your family is, and building a strong net of people in that sort of way, if that makes sense. And we also have the King of Wands reverse, which is really interesting because it's such a different energy from everyone else and from everything else. But to me, the King of Wands reverse kind of signifies your past energy, whether it's from a past life or from like your recent past and this life or whatever it is. It's like, if you don't believe in past lives, that's fine. But I feel that if you do believe in past lives, I feel like this was kind of your energy in the past where you were kind of like a dictator, very like you had that charm, you had that optimism, you had that childlike aura, but you used it in an abusive sort of way. Not abusive as in like emotionally abusive or anything like that, but you abused that power, so to speak. You overused it, I guess is a better word of saying it. And you used it for like almost bad intentions, or even selfish or greedy intentions, should I say. And so with the King of Wands reverse, I feel like that's energy that you are encouraged to move away from. And I feel that with the King of Wands reverse, this is kind of like showing you how you don't need to have everything at once, or how you can use your charm, your persuasive abilities, your optimism, your childlike demeanor for better rather than for worse, if that kind of makes sense. I also feel with the King of Wands reversed, especially because here I have the student card in one of the oracles. I feel that with the King of Wands reversed, this to me is kind of like, I feel that your life purpose is learning to set aside your pride and to open yourself to learn from other people rather than being the one who is always in control. I feel it's not necessarily like a dethroning or like giving away of your power. It's more so kind of just knowing your place as a student, but also knowing your place as a mentor or a teacher. Like there are definitely aspects in our lives where we can doubt, like we are, or we can be a mentor or a teacher because we have a lot of experience in that. But there are also aspects in our lives where we have very little experience. And so we kind of have to step to the side and let someone who does have a lot more experience to teach us and to mentor us, if that kind of makes sense. And so I feel that with the King of Wands reverse, this is kind of saying to me how, especially with the Three of Pentacles, like learning how to step aside, learning how to step aside from your place of power or whatever it is, learning how to step aside and opening yourself to learn from other people, especially in aspects of your life in which you are not experienced, if that makes sense. Like learning how to be a student and not just being a dictator or like a ruler who just arrogantly does whatever they want based off of like their own selfish desires and not necessarily what they need, if that makes sense. And so we have student here, right? Which is kind of along the lines of what I was saying earlier. I feel like this, for some of you, I feel like part of your life purpose is learning how to be a student, learning how to learn, learning how to take advice from other people, learning how to let someone else teach, letting someone else take control or take the lead, or like basically take the lead and not get like offended if someone is like better at you at something, if that makes sense. Because it's bound to happen where someone is better than us at something. Like it's bound to happen. It's inevitable. There is always going to be someone in our lives who is better at something than us. And that's not to say that we're bad at it, but some people have more experience or more skill, or they're more they're just naturally inclined to whatever thing it is. Does that make sense? So I feel like we really have to open ourselves to learn from other people, rather than being really closed off and just completely rejecting any sort of advice, any sort of tips, tools, resources that people might want to provide for us in the future, if that kind of makes sense. Which is really fun. And I also have the Pioneer card. So this to me kind of just talks about how some of you are kind of being encouraged to create a new path and kind of go, maybe not necessarily go against the path that you were expected to follow, but it's kind of like, going outside of the norm or being independent, doing something that might be unexpected, and like rolling with the punches, even if, you are met with disapproval from friends, family, the community, whatever it is. I feel like your life purpose is like being a pioneer, doing something different, creating something new through your artistry, your creativity, your music, whatever it is. Being a pioneer in whatever field it is that you want to pursue and not letting anyone hold you back. And I feel like the best way in order for you to be a pioneer is to listen to other people, learn from other people, or listen to their advice, at least. Doesn't necessarily have to be always taking their advice, but listening to other people's advice, kind of like being in the background for a little bit, absorbing all of the information that you need to know, so that when you have all of your tools, you can just like step up and do everything and not necessarily have to ask for help the entire time, if that makes sense. I really feel like it's with this Pioneer card, this is kind of like going outside of your comfort zone or going outside of the norms in some way. Like I said, through the creativity, through the artistry, through like being a visionary. I really see that some of you are meant to be a visionary, or you're just like, I feel like it's kind of I feel like you're being encouraged to implement your ideas or your ideals or your dreams, your hopes, your wishes, and implement them into your career in some sort of way, through maybe like collaboration with other people, working with them, or anything along those lines, if that makes sense. But I really do feel like whoever chose this group, I feel like with these two cards and just like all of this in general, I really feel that your life purpose is definitely kind of not necessarily going against the grain, but creating something new with whatever tools that you have that are like very creative, like using your creativity and your artistry and all of that sort of stuff to create a new path or something really innovative to society in some way, or to your community in some way, and building a more inclusive community in that way, We also have New Life and Unfinished Symphony here. So New Life to me definitely kind of just talks about how, it kind of feels like whatever it is that you've done in the beginning of your life, or like in the early stages of your life, or like early adulthood or whatever, I feel like it's almost like it's not necessarily going to be the same thing in the future. For example, because we're going through like this whole, we have this whole vibe of like creativity, artistry, being a musician, being a muse, something that has to do with arts in some way. Right? And so I feel like, for example, let's say you are like training to be a doctor, right? Maybe like you're going to school to be a doctor. And that's not necessarily something that you want to do. You might be someone who's like a graphic designer and you really like graphic design. And so the new life card to me would be like how you need to break out of your shell and start being that pioneer, start doing the things that involve your creativity, start doing things that you personally enjoy and are very passionate about. Does that make sense? And I feel like that's kind of like what this card is saying is like, this is time for a new life. I feel that within this lifetime, this is kind of saying how it's time to shed away the skin of the King of Wands reversed, of being kind of dictatorial or, you know, always being very insistent as to get every single thing that you want immediately and not taking no for an answer sort of thing. I feel like it's time for you to break out of your shell, to become a new person, to do things differently, to kind of go against what you have been living for however long. And I feel with this unfinished symphony, this is kind of saying how whatever, I honestly feel like this is past life karma, like past life stuff. I feel like in this lifetime, I feel like, can I stop saying like so much? With the unfinished symphony card, I feel that whatever past life karma you may have accumulated, this is a lifetime for you to kind of let things go, to let things end, to fulfill any sort of karma that you might have. If you were this person in your past life, very dictatorial, if you had the energy of the King of Wands reversed in the past life, I feel that in this new lifetime, it's time to kind of wrap things up, to learn the lessons from that, and to, you know, reap what you may have sown with that energy that you had in the past life, if that makes sense. Yeah. We also have these final cards. We have Saint Teresa, Saint Valentine, and William Blake. So we have Divine Ecstasy with Teresa and Divine Love with Saint Valentine. So both of these cards definitely have to do with love. And I feel like, again, it has a lot to do with creativity, with your artistry. And I also feel that by connecting with your creativity, you are able to spread a lot more love and be a lot more compassionate. And I feel like that's a big part of your life purpose, is learning how to be compassionate, empathetic, kind towards other people, learning how to love unconditionally, how to acknowledge people for their flaws, but not necessarily hold it against them, if that kind of makes sense. And I feel like this also has a lot to do with self-love and learning how to appreciate yourself, how to cherish yourself, how to nurture yourself, and how to nurture your creativity, your ideals, how to nurture your hopes, your wishes, how to nurture anything that it is that you want to pursue, so to speak. And I feel with this William Blake card, Creative Channel, I really do feel like your life purpose has to do something with creativity. Like, I really do feel like you are meant to do something with your art or with your music or whatever it is that you are into, with your writing. Even if you're a poet or if you're an author or whatever it is that you want to do, I feel like that's something that you really need to do. And I feel like that's how you channel your creativity. And I feel like that's how you are able to spread love and creativity and compassion and empathy, is through your writing, your music, your art, whatever that may be for you. I feel that's what's really important for you. And I feel like that's part of your life purpose, is spreading that sort of creativity, rekindling the fire and rekindling the passion for art, for the arts, in whatever way that might be. And kind of going against the grain a little bit, I guess. I mean, earlier I said it's not really like that, but I really do feel kind of with this William Blake card, because I was reading it earlier, how he kind of went against the grain and like people thought he was kind of crazy with the art, with his art and poetry or whatever he did. I don't remember exactly what he did. But I feel that some of you are kind of meant to go like a little bit against the grain, to be that pioneer, to do something that people never really thought of, or maybe have thought of but never pursued because they didn't think it'd be successful. So I kind of feel like that's part of your purpose, is learning how to be your own person, to be your own individual self, without worrying about the approval of others, and embracing this new life, this new self, embracing your creative self and nurturing that and nourishing that And I feel like some of you might not even expect it, because with the Page of Cups, this would be like an unexpected message or an unexpected change of events that affects you emotionally. But because it's upright, you would be a lot more inclined to be open to this change or this unexpected message or whatever it is, you know? So that's interesting. But that is all that I have for you, Group 1. I really hope that it resonates. Let me know in the comments down below if it does. I would love to hear all of your feedback. If you liked the video, give it a big thumbs up. Share with your friends, family, loved ones. Subscribe. Hit the bell notification to know when I upload my videos. If you want to book a personal reading with me, you can do so at sinfulpluto.com. The link will be down below. And if you want to find me on social media, you can do so at Sinfulpluto on Twitter and Instagram. So with that being said, I hope you have a wonderful week, day, month, whatever, and I will talk to you soon. Bye. Hi, Group 2. How are you? I hope that you are doing so well. Obviously, if you chose this group, you chose the opal. So let's just go ahead right into your reading. So we're going to start first with the tarot. I have the Two of Cups reversed, the Five of Wands, the World reversed, and I have the Queen of Swords reversed. So honestly, I'll be very, very blunt about this. It really does seem that there has been a lot of pain that you've experienced throughout your life, Group 2, up until this point. It just seems like life in general has been kind of painful, or there have just been a lot of conflicts and obstacles that you've had to face throughout your life up until this point. And I feel like your overall life purpose has a lot to do with healing all of the pain that you've experienced from the past, and healing specifically the pain that people have caused you, like specifically people that have caused you. The Two of Cups reverse essentially talks about disharmony in relationships. It could be that within your life or throughout your life, relationships may not have been the best. And I'm not saying just romantically, I'm saying platonically, familial, job, relationships, things like that. I feel that relationships with other people, partnerships, may not have been the easiest for you. They may have been a source of conflict, a source of obstacles, of difficulty. And with the Five of Wands, I feel like that further confirms that life kind of just feels like a war zone almost. It just feels so draining in the sense that it seems that there's always something that comes up in your life, no matter what, you know? No matter how good things seem to get, it's almost like you can't seem to allow yourself to get comfortable because you have learned to expect something to come up again, you know? There's this sense of just not being able to find complete and utter peace because there's just something that comes up all of the time, if that makes sense. And I have the World reversed as well, which to me would refer to a lack of fulfillment within your life, but also a lot of history being repeated, a lot of the same themes throughout your life being repeated. And it's like you don't know how to break yourself out of this. It's almost like you're just completely trapped in this cycle. And I feel that your life purpose is to learn how to break out of this cycle, how to break out of this reality that has kind of been perpetuated for so long, for however long it might have been. But I feel like your life purpose definitely has a lot to do with ending certain cycles, specifically in terms of relationships, toxic relationships, unhealthy relationships, anything along those lines where people just don't respect your boundaries, or maybe you don't respect their boundaries, or whatever the case may be in terms of conflicting relationships. I really feel that your life purpose has a lot to do with healing a lot of the wounds that you have experienced, or a lot of the pain that you've experienced throughout your life with these relationships. And the Queen of Swords reverse, I think, kind of resembles your energy, Group 2, feeling very scorned, feeling like you've had to really close yourself off emotionally. I feel like your heart chakra might just be completely blocked off, might be really under, what's the word? It's not under functioning. That's not the word I'm looking for, but for lack of a better word, I'm going to use under functioning. it feels like your heart is just completely blocked off. It's not working properly. It's just like super congested. It's super, it's just blocked off because of all of the stuff that you may have experienced throughout your life, all of the pain that people may have caused you. And throughout time, you have learned to kind of keep your wall up, to keep up your defenses, to not trust people that easily. Also, root chakra could also be an issue of not trusting people, not feeling very secure within your relationships, not feeling very secure in your life in general. So that might be something that you may need to look up sometime soon, or sometime during your life. Working how to heal those aspects of your life. But I really do feel like your life purpose has a lot to do with healing that sort of stuff, because it does feel like maybe in the past, whether it's in this life or in the last life, if you believe in past lives or not, that's okay. But if you do believe in past lives, it kind of just feels like there's just so much that has been meant to be healed, or there's just a lot of loose ends that need to be tied up, essentially. And so I think that in this lifetime, it's important that you work on healing those things, on, you know, ending those cycles, on finding fulfillment within your life, not allowing history to keep on repeating itself. And I have the victim and martyr card, which was so interesting, how they kind of bounce off of one another, which is, I wasn't expecting these cards at all. But I have victim and martyr. And so I do feel as though throughout your life, you have found yourself as a victim in terms of situations. And you have found people disrespecting your boundaries, not listening to you, talking over you, making you feel bad, making you feel worthless, making you feel powerless, making you feel as though you don't have a say in your own life, making you feel like you don't have a choice. And I feel like your life purpose in terms of these is learning how to transcend these things and learning how to put yourself first, essentially, because it does seem that maybe you have put other people first, especially with this Two of Cups reversed. I feel like you may have put other people first, maybe because you idealized them or you wanted their respect in some way, or maybe they were just really domineering. Whatever the case might be, it kind of just feels like your whole purpose in life, or part of your purpose in life, has a lot to do with learning to love yourself, learning to respect yourself and respect your own boundaries, learning how to be of service to yourself rather than bending your back backwards for people who would never do the same for you. Learning how to put yourself first. I think I just said that, but really learning how to love yourself. As corny as that sounds, but it might sound cliche, but I feel like a lot of us really need to learn to do that. And a lot of us, we learn and we are conditioned to just put other people before us, to serve other people and to let them disrespect us or let them do whatever they will just to make them happy, when at the end of the day, we're not happy with the circumstances. So I really feel that for you, group 2, it's really a matter of learning how to empower yourself, learning how to, like I said, how to love yourself, how to believe in your worth, and also kind of start to learn to take control of your own life and not allow other people to direct everything for you, if that kind of makes sense. Not allow people to take over the wheel when it's your car. You know, if they're the passenger, they stay the passenger. Don't let them just like lean over the car and drive for you. That's not the point. And I feel like that's really a major lesson for you, is learning how to do things for yourself, and also learning how to stand your ground, learning how to speak up for yourself and not allow these people to just walk all over you, not allow these people to just to do whatever they will. You know what I mean? So that's really what it feels like. And obviously it's so much easier said than done. Absolutely. It's such a process. It's such a journey. And it does take time. It's not something that's done overnight. For some people, it can take months. For some people, it can take years upon years upon years. It can take up to 10 years, maybe even 20 years for people to completely heal themselves. But it's all worth it, and it's all for your own benefit. It shouldn't matter how long it takes, because you're doing it for yourself. You're not doing it for other people. You're doing it so that you can ultimately be happy, because this is your life, your path. And you should always put yourself first. And this doesn't necessarily mean that you're being selfish. It just means that you are not going to allow other people to manipulate you or gaslight you into doing things that you truly don't feel comfortable doing, or have you bend to their will. That's not okay. And so I really feel like throughout your life, I think it's important. I feel like you have taken all, or you're meant to take all of these things and kind of eventually change your perspective to see them as lessons, so that later down the line, once you have completed a lot of your healing and you have gained a lot of wisdom, I feel that with your wisdom, you were meant to share that experience, that wisdom with other people, because I also have the mentor card, which to me kind of says how, like I said, you were meant to transcend everything that you've gone through, kind of step out of the victim role. Not to say, this isn't to say that you were choosing to be a victim, but basically taking a stand for yourself, essentially. I feel like once you move away from that, and once you begin to empower yourself and do things for yourself and make your own choices and drive the car, take the wheel with both hands and be in complete control of that car, I feel like you're going to be able, and I think that you are being encouraged to spread that knowledge, spread that wisdom through other people, be a mentor for other people, be a guide, maybe even a counselor. I can see some of you guys, maybe going into therapy or into some form of counseling to help other people who have gone through the same thing as you. Maybe aid people who have gone through abusive relationships or manipulative relationships, or whatever the case may be, to help them kind of like see the light, so to speak, to help them change their perspective, to see things differently, to do things differently. And I feel like it's really your purpose to not only end your own cycle of like trauma and this ongoing cycle of just manipulation and people taking advantage of you and lack of boundaries, all of this other stuff that ultimately does not make you happy, but it keeps on, happening. I feel like not only you're supposed to do that, but you're supposed to help people and guide people to end their own cycles. This isn't to say that you are supposed to end their cycles. That's not what I'm saying, but to help them and to guide them, because at the end of the day, we can't make someone end something that we know is unhealthy. They have to be the ones to make that choice. And I feel like what your kind of role in all of this is to serve yourself and also kind of serve others, but with boundaries in that sort of sense, and to help them change their own life. Not make them, but to help them and to provide a different perspective, to provide a different point of view. That sort of thing. And I have round and round here, which again talks about like cycles and how I think that your purpose is definitely meant to end certain cycles that are probably like really unhealthy. They're not very helpful for you. They're not productive to you. They don't really serve you in any sort of way. If anything, they just kind of hold you back. I really feel like that's kind of a thing that has to be addressed in this lifetime. And I also have St. Jude Saving Grace. Again, with the whole cycles thing, because we have the moon cycle. So this is definitely a thing about cycles. We have the world reverse, we have round and round, and we have this card. So this to me is definitely saying how it's time, or no, it's not time, but your life purpose is to find the light at the end of the tunnel, because life kind of has felt very dark for a long time. And I think it's time for you to find that light and realize that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and that you can make it out, and that you can save yourself, essentially. I feel like that's kind of what this is saying, is like learning how to save yourself and learning how to put yourself first. This kind of reminds me of, how on airplanes and before we take off, before you take off on a flight, they always go through that safety precaution procedure thing, and they talk about how with those masks that could fall overhead whenever you're like falling, or if you fall, like if your plane is starting to crash, or like if oxygen levels are low or something, You have to put your mask on first. They always tell you to put your mask on first before you go and help someone else. And it's not something selfish, but you need to help yourself so that you can help others. Does that make sense? And so that's kind of what this seems to me is like, learning to help yourself first, putting yourself first, making yourself a priority before you can go out and help others. Because as long as your needs are not met, how can you meet the needs of other people? How can you help other people meet their needs? Your needs need to be met first, above all, above anything. Your needs take priority. And I feel like that's a big lesson for you in this lifetime, is learning how to put yourself first and saving yourself, helping yourself. And once you were able to do that, once you were able to meet your own needs, then you can go out and help other people, be a mentor to other people, be a counselor for other people, or whatever it is that you desire to do. I really do feel like this is definitely part of your life purpose, is learning how to save yourself, learning how to find yourself, learning how to it's not even learning, realizing your own identity outside of these relationships, outside of these people, outside of the external. It's realizing who you are without all of the other distractions, I guess you could say, the external distractions. So with that being said, group 2, I really hope that this resonates with you. Let me know if it does. I would love to hear your feedback in the comments down below. If you like the video, give it a big thumbs up. Share with your friends, family, loved ones. Subscribe and hit the bell notification to know when I upload my videos. And if you want to book a personal reading with me to get further insight into this or into something else, you can go to sinfulpluto.com to book a reading with me. It'll be down below. And if you want to find me on social media, you can do so at Sinfulpluto on Twitter and Instagram. So with that being said, I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your week or day, night, wherever you are, and I'll talk to you later. Bye. Hey group 3, how are you? I hope that you are doing so well. Obviously, if you chose this group, you chose the amethyst. So let's just go ahead and get right in. So first I'm going to start with the tarot. We have the 7 of Swords, T. We have the Queen of Wands. We have the Queen of Pentacles reversed. And we have the 3 of Cups reversed. So what I kind of feel from this spread is kind of like, what I get from this is that there's kind of this desire or this incessant need of approval, for approval of others. Can I speak English? I don't know. But basically, okay, so we have the 3 of Cups, right? I have the 3 of Cups reversed, which to me would signify usually this would signify superficial relationships or friendships. This would talk about like a social group that you're not really connected with. This to me would talk about like gossip or like fake friends, talking about each other behind people's back. Just any sort of like friendship or dynamic that isn't genuine, isn't real, isn't sincere. It just feels all very superficial, and it's just like you're feeding off of each other's insecurities, and you're only friends with one another either because like you're pretty. Like it would be for a superficial reason. You're friends for superficial reasons, and that's the only thing that really keeps the friendship together, is that there's a commonality in terms of insecurity. And for example, you like to talk, you have this commonality of like not liking this one person, and so you all band together and just talk a lot of crap about that one person. That's a thing that would keep you together. And so I feel like your life purpose is to get away from that, to get away from the need to have approval from other people. Because I have the Queen of Pentacles reversed, which I think is kind of your energy throughout your life up until now, up until this point while you're watching this video, or like the present moment, should I say. And I feel that with this Queen of Pentacles reversed, this to me is talking about how someone cares a little bit too much about their reputation. They care too much about their appearance, how people view them, how people think of them, that sort of thing. And so because of that, they stop themselves from doing certain things. They stop themselves from pursuing their own passions or aspirations, dreams, wishes, whatever it is, because they're so worried about what other people think of them. And they're always thinking, oh, well, I don't want to do this because they're going to think I'm weird, or they're going to think this, or they're going to think that. It's very much kind of staying within the box and following expectations, so to speak. But a lot of these expectations, I feel, it's almost like self-imposed. But I really do feel like your life purpose is to learn how to get away from that. Learn how to get away from this Queen of Pentacles reverse energy. Learn how to not care so much about what other people think of you, and to be independent, to do your own thing, to think that you are worthy of doing your own thing, and to kind of overcome your insecurities. Because that's also what the Queen of Pentacles reverse talks about, is like, to me, the Queen of Pentacles reverse talks about someone who is very insecure, someone who doesn't believe that they are worthy, someone who doesn't believe that they are beautiful, or that they deserve greatness, or that they can't do anything, or whatever that is, right? Like, they don't believe in themselves. They have low self-esteem issues, and they crave the validation of other people. It's almost like their form of survival is through the external validation of other people. And that's kind of how they make their way through life, is always like fishing for compliments or doing things because they know that they'll get praise, but not doing them because they actually enjoy it. It's always in relation to, what will other people say about me? How will they think about me? How will they perceive me if I do this? And it's always functioning off of this, what can I do to make other people happy, or make them like me, or accept me in some way? That's kind of what it feels like. It's just someone who is a deep conformist, I guess you could say, but also just cares way too much about other people's opinions. And so I feel that for you, group 2, your life purpose is to get away from that. Because I also have the Queen of Wands here upright. If I can get the card. I have the Queen of Wands here, which tells me that your life purpose is to portray this, to embody this energy of someone very bold, courageous, confident. You believe in yourself and you do whatever you want, no matter what anyone thinks. You are like the center of attention, but it's not because you were trying to, but you just naturally radiate that confident energy that everyone can't help but notice, you know? This to me is just being under the spotlight, but not intentionally. It's just that you are just a star. Is kind of just what it feels like, is that you are a natural star. And I feel that a lot of you are kind of dimming yourself down so that you can kind of be in the same wavelength as these other people who really don't mean anything to you, and who you don't have a genuine or sincere connection with. You just seek their validation. You leech off of each other's energies, and you seek each other's validation, each other's like approval, when really their approval doesn't even matter. It's like, it's just not a healthy dynamic. And so I really feel that your life purpose is learning how to find yourself, learning how to be confident, learning how to be your own person, and not care for the approval of other people, not care about what other people want from you or expect from you. Just doing what makes you happy, following your own aspirations, your own wishes, and your own dreams, and like owning that energy, being confident in what you do, and not asking if what you are doing is good enough, but just knowing that it's good enough, and exuding that energy, and knowing that what you are doing and what you want to do is amazing and perfect and beautiful in its own way, and no one else can replicate that, or no one else can repeat that, I guess you could say. It's just being your own original person. Being confident is really what it feels like for a lot of you, and not letting anyone try to put you down. The energy that I get with the Queen of Wands is just like very heavy Leo energy, and just exuding that confidence no matter what, being so authentically yourself, unapologetically yourself, and just loving yourself for who you are, if that makes sense. It's so cliche, I feel like, but a lot of us really find that to be challenging, learning to be confident in ourselves and loving ourselves and all of that shebang. And we also have the 7 of Swords, which could also signify that some of you, there's 2 ways that I can really see this, especially based on like everything else that I'm seeing here. The 7 of Swords can signify 2 things. The 7 of Swords can signify that your part of your life purpose is learning how to plan, learning how to strategize, learning how to not be so reckless or impulsive, because usually when I see this card, I think of someone who is rushing into something without really thinking through the whole thing, and then they have to like face the consequences later. So if this is, you know, something that you experience throughout your life, or you go throughout your life, your part of your purpose is learning how to be better at planning and strategizing and thinking things through, being, you know, thinking 3 steps ahead and finishing things. If you're going to start something, finish them. That's kind of part of your purpose. But I also feel with this 7 of Swords, because this can also, like, in the mainstream way, I guess, of seeing this card would be seeing the card as like deception and trickery, thievery, and stuff like that. And with that being said, I have the Detective card and I also have Observer. So I feel like these 2 cards really confirm to me that the 7 of Swords can also signify that for some of you, your life purpose could be in relation to being some sort of detective, a psychologist, what's it called? A psychiatrist, or something that has to do with like discovering the truth, finding out the truth, finding the reality of a situation. Maybe you're a detective, maybe you're a private investigator, maybe you do something in law that has to do with finding the truth. Maybe you, I don't know, like maybe you're a psychic or a tarot reader, something that has to do with revealing the truth, finding the truth, unveiling the truth, you know, what's the word? Shattering certain illusions or whatever it is, in that sort of sense, right? That could also be part of your life purpose, is like paying very close attention to detail and paying very close attention to what's going on in your environment, but also what's going on within yourself. Because this detective energy and this observer energy here, I feel like it's a lot more than just being a detective and observing the details outside of yourself. It's also looking into the details within yourself, doing a lot of introspection, using, I feel like some of you might have like psychic abilities, especially because I have this card, Dion Fortune Ceremony, and I was reading the description and like a little bit of like a synopsis of who she was and stuff. She was like a psychic. She had like a bunch of psychic abilities and stuff. And I really feel like that's kind of part of your purpose, is that not only being a detective in the external life, but being your own inner detective and figuring yourself out and getting to the root of certain things. And I feel like the whole purpose of your life is going past skin deep, going past the superficial, because the 3 of Cups reversed to me is all about the superficial. The Queen of Pentacles reversed is all about superficial and like superficiality and caring so much about the outer layer, the externals, like the externality, like the external part of everything, and not really going past that. And so with the Detective and Observer card, I feel like this has a lot to do with going deeper than skin deep. This is all about, I think, introspecting, learning about yourself, and not just avoiding everything that you have experienced, or avoiding your feelings, or avoiding a certain mindset or a thought that comes to mind. I feel like this is definitely all about facing yourself, facing your own shadows, and learning to accept them and integrate them into your everyday lives, and kind of taking control of your shadows, or at least putting it on a leash in a sense, and working with it rather than against it or running away from it. I really do feel like this has a lot to do with learning a lot about yourself, and finding the truth about yourself, about others, about what made you the way that you are, you know, like being like psychoanalyzing yourself in a sense. Like I said, some of you could really be great psychologists or psychiatrists, because this is like a desire to seek out the truth, great powers of observation and intuition. So I feel like being like, if you were into psychology, if that's something that you want to pursue, I can see you doing very well at that. And I feel like it would help you get to know yourself a lot better and get past the superficial level of yourself, and get to know yourself and get to know your soul and who you are at your core, if that, you know, makes sense. We also have Goddess here. So again, this to me just screams the whole Queen of Wands energy. of just like being independent, being your own person, and kind of embracing your own power and not letting other people dictate what you can or cannot do, what you can or cannot portray. It's just getting to know your own goddess energy, your own feminine energy, creating your own life force rather than depending on other people to be your life force. We also have loyal heart, which to me would just basically talk about how it's encouraged for you to be loyal to yourself, to put yourself first, to not care about what other people think of you, that sort of thing. I also feel like some of you have to be mindful of where your loyalties lie. If you are, for example, loyal to people who you genuinely don't care for or you don't have a genuine connection with, I feel like that's kind of something that has to be addressed and acknowledged, and kind of realign your loyalties so that you don't find yourself siding with someone who ultimately doesn't align with anything that you believe in. That makes sense? And then we have happy, which to me kind of says how it's important that you within your life don't place your happiness within other people. Don't kind of seek the approval of other people in order to be happy. I feel like it's important that you make yourself happy and not other people. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's really what I get from this card, is don't put your happiness in the hands of other people. Put them in your own hands. And we also have observer. We talked about this. Being really great at detective work and psychoanalyzing yourself or other people, that sort of thing. Being very keen to detail and paying very close attention to detail. I feel like some of you might be like Geminis. This is Gemini energy to me. Gemini and Scorpio energy. That's what it really seems to me with this observer and detective energy. A lot of Scorpio and Gemini energy. And then we have Dion Fortune ceremony. This basically talks about how you were encouraged throughout your lifetime to no longer avoid your feelings or any pains that you have experienced or trauma or whatever. This is definitely a card that kind of talks about how you are encouraged to face whatever it is that you have repressed, to allow yourself to feel those things and to validate the way that you feel and to not continue running away from them. I think that this card is also saying how some of you might have really great psychic ability, whatever that might be for you, whether it's just really strong intuition, whether you have clairvoyance, clairaudience, any of the clairs, or if like you're a medium or whatever. I feel like this is saying that part of your life purpose has a lot to do with some sort of psychic ability. And if not, this just talks about, to me, going deep, like going in very deep to find the truth of the matter, whether it has to do with yourself or with others around you. So with that being said, I really hope that this resonates for you, group 3. Let me know if it does in the comments down below. I would love to hear your feedback. And if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Go ahead and watch any of my other pick a cards or readings that I have on my channel if you desire. Share with your friends, share the video with your friends, family, loved ones. And subscribe, hit the bell notification to know when I upload my videos. And if you want to book a personal reading with me, you can do so at sinfulpluto.com. The link will be down below if you just want to click on that. Excuse me. And if you want to find me on social media, you can do so on Twitter and Instagram at Sinfulpluto. So with that being said, I will talk to you soon, later. Bye. Hey group 4, how are you? I hope that you are doing so well. Obviously, if you chose this group, you chose the pyrite. So let's go ahead and get started. So we'll go into the tarot first. We have the hanged one or the hanged man, which is like Piscean, Neptunian energy. We have the Ace of Swords reversed, the Six of Swords, and the Seven of Cups. Okay. So the main message that I get from this is that your life purpose, group 4, it has a lot to do with being your own person and making your own decisions and not necessarily waiting around for other people. There's this sense of needing to gain independence. This is similar to the other like messages that I have for the other piles, but this is different in the sense that this has a lot to do with making your own decisions and not letting other people make them for you, if that makes sense. The Hanged Man here basically talks about like waiting, always being in a delay of something, delaying a decision, waiting around, always being in a period of like suspension, and not like suspension as in like building up suspense, but like you're suspended like upside down, if that makes sense. And so I feel that with this Hanged Man, this is kind of talking about how you wait around for people to take initiative for you. I don't necessarily think it's a self-worth kind of thing. I don't even think it's like a laziness sort of thing, but maybe it's more so of like kind of being complacent to it all. Maybe other people have just done everything for you throughout your life, that you have grown accustomed to that, and so now you kind of just expect people to do everything for you, to make decisions for you, and kind of like you don't really have to think for yourself, essentially. And so we have the Ace of Swords reversed as well, which to me would basically talk about a lack of independence, not really forging your own path, kind of following the path of other people, like being under their shadow, being in their own shadow. And again, it doesn't have to do with self-worth or not believing that you can do it all alone, but it's just like this lack of originality, this lack of creativity, this lack of thinking for yourself, of being your own mind, of being your own individual person. It kind of just feels like you rely on other people to do things for you, to think for you. And so I feel that with this Ace of Swords reverse, this is talking about how it's really important and vital throughout your lifetime to make decisions for yourself, to reach conclusions for yourself and not expect other people to reach those conclusions for you or to tell you what to think, if that makes sense. It's kind of like, especially with the Hanged one, with the Hanged Man, that's heavy Neptunian energy, that's Piscean energy. And so Pisces and like Neptune ruled people, they tend to very much adapt to their environment, and they kind of become the people that they're surrounded by. And so a lot of like the thoughts that they have or opinions that they have aren't necessarily their own. It's just things that they pick up on from other people and take as their own. Does that make sense? So, for example, I have Pisces in the 11th house, right? I'm a Taurus rising. I have Pisces in the 11th house. So the 11th house has a lot to do with like friendships, acquaintances, social groups, the masses, the collective, that sort of thing. And I have learned and I have noticed about myself throughout my lifetime that when I'm around friends, I act like them. And obviously, like, everyone acts like their friends when they're like surrounded by their friends, but like I would do my best to embody their energy. Like, it was straight up like mimicking them and copying everything that they did. Which is just like, that's just like not good, because I was losing myself. I was losing my own personality, my own identity. I was doing things that were completely out of character for me as a person, because I was doing this, like what they were doing. I was mimicking them, right? And a lot of the time it kind of had to do with like wanting to be accepted by them or wanting their approval. So I feel like with this Ace of Swords reverse, this is kind of like what it's talking about. And with the Hanged Man as well, is like, you need to separate yourself from the group. And this doesn't mean like have no friends and that you're not allowed to have friends and da-da-da-da. Like, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that it's important to cultivate your own identity outside of a group or outside of like a certain structure. I think that's important for you to find your own identity, to build your own identity, to find who you are outside of these people. Who are you outside of this friend group? What are your hobbies? What are you genuinely interested in that has nothing to do with these people? That's kind of what I'm referring to. And obviously, we all as people, we adapt to the people that we're around, and, you know, like, we adjust and all of that. But if it's to the point where we're straight up mimicking them and we are pushing away our own identity and just completely embodying this person. That's kind of where the issue lies. It's like kind of like the lack of boundaries and like losing yourself, so to speak. And so that's kind of what it feels like. And with this Ace of Swords, again, reverse, this to me is all about finding your own way, forging your own path, finding your own identity, being a leader rather than just a follower. Creating your own trends rather than just following all of the trends, you know? And we also have the Six of Swords. So some of you might have something to do with traveling. Your life purpose might have something to do with travel, or maybe have something to do with the internet, because that's kind of what the Six of Swords can sometimes signify, is like the internet, social media, that sort of thing. So maybe there's something that has to do with social media that you're a part of. I also feel that this overall just has to talk about transitioning away from the group think sort of thing, or transition away from trying to literally merge yourself to this person or to this group, and learning how to just be your own individual and how to be your own person, transitioning away from that. And like also just being a leader and taking the wheel and not just letting someone else do it for you, you know? And I also have the Seven of Cups, which to me is also similar to the Hanged Man. I associate it with Pisces energy, if I'm going to be quite honest. I know that like in traditional tarot, it's associated with Scorpio or with Venus and Scorpio, but I literally don't see that at all. I don't resonate with that. So I associate it with Piscean energy, which again, idealism, illusions, a lot of fantasizing, not really seeing the reality of a situation. Again, I feel like this has a lot to do with people telling you what to think, people constructing a certain reality for you that you didn't necessarily have any part in creating. It's just like you were being sold their version of reality, and you're just kind of like accepting it. Be like, okay, well, that's true. Again, this definitely has a lot to do with breaking the illusions of who you think you are and finding your own self outside of these people. And I also feel like the Hanged Man and the Seven of Cups talk about kind of snapping out of certain illusions or delusions that you might have throughout your lifetime and learning how to see the reality of a situation and not just being sold a pipe dream. Because with the Ace of Swords and the Ace of Swords reverse and the Seven of Cups, this to me talks about a lack of mental clarity, like a lot of confusion and just a lot of fogginess. So there could be a lot of illusions, there just could be a lot of confusion throughout your life, just not really knowing what to do, not knowing who to be. And again, it all roots in finding your own self, finding your own way of doing things rather than kind of just like following everyone else. So that's what I feel like. And we also have Judge and Don Juan. So to me, Judge kind of talks about being a fair judge of character and using your judgment and your discernment very actively throughout your lifetime. I feel like that's a big part of your life purpose, is learning how to be a fair judge of character, looking at things objectively rather than how you want them to be, right? Not looking at things through rose-colored lenses, because that's what the Seven of Cups is to me, is looking at things through a rose-tinted lens. Looking at the reality of a situation, being objective, being fair, being just. Learning how to make your own decisions, honestly. Learning how to make your own decisions, learning how to follow your own line of judgment rather than the judgment of other people, you know? Yeah, balancing out the scales on your own and reaching conclusions on your own rather than letting other people do it for you. And we also have Don Juan, which it talks about using this is, I hear it says at the bottom, using the power of romantic attraction for private agendas. I think this is why it's so important for you to use your discernment, because there could be people who do not have the best intentions, and who will sell you pipe dreams, who will sell you certain versions of reality in order to get what they want from you or to take advantage of you or whatever the case might be. And that's why you need to be a very fair judge of character. and to use your discernment and critical thinking and not just follow what everyone else thinks. Just because, for example, just because everyone else in the group likes one person does not mean you have to automatically like them. If they give you a bad vibe, don't be around them. You can be clear that you don't feel comfortable around this person. You can tell the group and that you don't want to be involved with them. It doesn't mean that they have to stop liking the person, but it just means that you don't want to hang around them and they have to respect that. You know what I mean? And so I really do feel like discernment is such a big thing for you. Group 4, using your discernment, using your critical thinking, and not letting people alter your reality or determine your reality. It's learning to do it yourself and on your own. Next, we have clean it up and peace. So clean it up essentially kind of talks to me about clearing up your internal and external spaces, clearing up all of the dust, putting your mind to work, putting in your effort or your part of the work or your part of a project, so to speak. And not just expecting everyone else to do the work for you. And when I say that, I don't mean it in a way that's kind of like entitled, but it's just kind of like through conditioning that we learn to expect other people to do certain things for us, you know? So it's not like an entitlement sort of thing, although it very well can. If you feel like you're entitled to people's energy or work, then that might be something that needs to be worked on. But to me, clean it up is kind of saying how it's important for you to clean up your own energy, your own, clean up your own perspective, clear up your perspective, your point of view, your vision, not like your literal vision, but your discernment, your critical thinking, that sort of thing, learning how to do things on your own. And we also have peace, which to me is saying like your overall life purpose is learning how to find peace within yourself. And maybe you feel as though life is kind of chaotic, and maybe you feel like you're just living this whole fantasy and like, maybe some of you are so caught up in cloud 9 and in a fantasy or whatever it is. And I feel like this peace card is kind of saying how you need to be brought back down to earth and find peace in your own reality and not just something that's an ideal, if that makes sense. We also have Maya Deren, immersion, and she apparently was an artist of all sorts. I think she was like an artist, a writer, a photographer. She was a bunch of things. And so this to me kind of refers to a lot of creative energy, and it makes sense because we have the Hanged One and the Seven of Cups, which is a lot of like idealistic sort of energy. It's Piscean energy, and Pisces can be very creative and very artistic, very musically inclined, or just something to do with the arts. And I feel like for some of you, that could very much be part of your life purpose. However, I think that it's important for you to find a balance between the idealism, the fantasy, and the reality of a situation. You can find a middle ground if you're willing to do so. And I think that's what you were encouraged to do in this lifetime. And I feel like you can find clarity in all of that. And I think it's just overall important to find some sort of, it's to like basically get rid of the fog that's in your mind all of the time with that Ace of Swords reverse. Like, also for some of you, you might have with the Ace of Swords reverse, this is like a complete sidetrack and it doesn't necessarily resonate with the entire thing, but with the Ace of Swords reverse, this can signify someone who's very blunt and honest. But they can be very harsh with their words. So if you're someone who is very blunt, very like in your face about your truth, I feel like the Ace of Swords reverse is kind of saying how some of you are encouraged to find a better way to express your truth. This isn't saying to beat around the bush, no, but this is saying to find a better way to express yourself, because the way that you're doing it right now, it can be really hurtful to other people, and other people probably don't want to be around you because of the fact that you can be so harsh and so cruel with your truth sometimes. So that's just something to be mindful of. But yeah, so we have Maya Deren immersion, which is like all about like artistry. So part of your life purpose might have to do with some form of artistry or creativity, whether it's graphic designing, whether it's fashion, whether it's drawing, writing, poetry, photography, whatever it is. Part of your life purpose might have to do with that. But I feel like something that's really important is that you need to find a balance between the idealism, the fantasy world, and the reality. Don't get so caught up in the fantasy, but also don't get so caught up in the mundane. There can be a balance. So that's basically what that is for me. So yeah, that's your reading, group 4. I really hope it resonates with you. Let me know in the comments down below if it does. And if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, share with your friends, family, loved ones. And if you want to watch more videos of mine, you are so welcome to do so. And if you want to book a personal reading with me, you can do so at sinfulpluto.com. The link will be down below if you just want to click on that. And if you want to follow me on social media, you can do so on Twitter and Instagram at Sinfulpluto. So yeah, I really hope this resonates with you, and I hope that you have a wonderful day, night, week, wherever you are, however you are. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye.